Hi, I'm Ken Dickey, and this is Cuis Smalltalk. And in this snippet, we're going to talk about named colors, color name dictionaries. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to a couple of tools here. And the first thing I'm going to do is open a file list. And a file list is just a way of exploring the file system. And these little triangles on the left, if you click on one, it opens to show you what's in that particular directory. And so you have a bunch of files, and you also have a bunch of subdirectories. And I'm going to look in features, and we see in feature we have named colors. And in named colors we have various uh, named color dictionaries. There's a little readme in here that talks about what these dictionaries are and so forth. And each dictionary goes through and it provides some sort of, it provides a named feature, and it has certain requirements. And so you notice we require a certain base image, some color extras, and some graphic files that has to do compression and reading TIFF and ping and those sorts of things. And so I think we ought to do, before we load anything else, is take a look at the color extras package. And if we come up a level and look at features, we should find, might as well by name, take a look at color extras. And again, this doesn't have anything it requires. It just gets loaded into the base image. And I'm just looking at the text file. This is not something typically you have to do. And each of these things has something that's adding some bit of code, and it has a timestamp and who put this thing together and various other sorts of things. But being lazy, I could say feature require color extras, and that would load this in a browser. But since I'm already here, the file list knows about Smalltalk packages, and so I can go ahead, and it added this button for me, and I can just go ahead and load it directly. So let me go ahead and take a look at a browser. And this browser, if I right click on this, I get a context menu, and I could do things like alphabetize, which I frequently do. But in this particular case, I'm making use of the fact that when I load a package, it gets loaded at the end. So this color extras package has one class, and you see there are nothing on the instance side here, so everything's on the class side. And the class has two funny name messages, and rather than whole bunches of methods, this is all doing it for side effects. So we can start a pre-package install, and what that does is just adds a slot to the class object for a color names dictionary. And then after it's installed, it does some initialization. And note that there are no other methods here, which gives us a clue that we're actually doing something to color. And so let's go. I'm just going to take a browser on color. Close this one and make this a little larger. And now on color, okay, on the instance side, on the bottom, since these have been, again, I haven't alpha sorted this, we have a couple things that have come with a star, and then color extras, named colors, color extras selection. So that's a clue that this is a naming convention that allows the system code, when you say, I'm going to create a package and then I'm going to write a package out, there's a way, this is a standard way of adding methods to pre-existing classes. And so I can get the closest color from the color name dictionary, or the closest color name to a color, and those sorts of things. And I now have new things like we can ask if something is considered orange. And so again, this is a little bit of algorithmics that happen to deal with, uh, you know, taking an RGB value and asking a question that makes sense for us. Is it pink? Is it pastel? Is it saturated? Is it light? Is it dark? Whatever. And when I look at the class side, we can see again we have added, in this case, a bunch of named colors, and these named colors tend to be fairly you know common across a number of color dictionaries actually. So if we say sea green, color sea green, we get just a look up at the color names dictionary, the current color name dictionary. And that's a clue that this we can have multiple color name dictionaries, and people use different color dictionaries for different reasons. And so we're just being flexible here, and if you use this stuff, then it's interesting and you want to have all these facilities. But if you don't need it, then you don't want it in your base image because this is superfluous to you. So it depends on supporting the things that you want for the way you want to do things. So it's all about being nimble and stuff. And so we have let's see, initialize color extras. So we go ahead and we set up the default name dictionary. Let's see, where's we can get the color names dictionary. We can get the first 48 named colors of one particular color dictionary. And so you see, just makes a small dictionary which takes the color from the hex string, and this is just a transliteration of stuff that's out in the off the internet. So in this case, it's a result of a color survey and so forth. So traditional names, or the traditional Smalltalk names. Anyway, just basically basic setup stuff. And we can go ahead, and there are various dictionaries that you might like for various palettes for various things, and oranges or whatever. And again, here we're taking something that gives us a color dictionary that is added. We can evaluate it, but it's added as a comment so that we can just go conveniently and say do it. And now we get an object explorer that allows us to go through and take a look at colors for this particular dictionary. So this is a bright dictionary, and as I say, this is just made up and a bunch of colors added, and we can go through and say okay, lime green, what the heck. So let's do self. Actually, I want to do I need to make a morph to show this. So I want to make a rectangle like morph new color self because I've selected lime green, and let me put parentheses around that. I'm lazy, I could type them in that way, but there's a shortcut that I'm going to use. And I'm going to say make a new rectangle like morph with this color, my color, which is lime green, and open in hand, and do it. Okay, I did that too fast, sorry. Let me go ahead and show you the context sensitive editor. So do it and open in hand. The hand is the pointer. And so when I open in the hand, then I get the rectangle like morph, and I can go ahead and resize and explore and take a look at those sorts of things. Okay, so that's the basis of color dictionaries. And the other thing I wanted to show is color name lookup. And let's, actually I want to get a specific, well, that's okay. Let me start here. Uh, so this is something that's a very powerful command, a very powerful method in Smalltalk, and so it's easy to abuse, and you want to use it with some care. And but when somebody writes some code that doesn't exist yet, and some people do this sort of backwardly. They write a bunch of code and assume something exists, and then when it doesn't exist, it hits the debugger, and then they go ahead and write that code. Uh, so what this does is it says I don't understand something, and since there are multiple color dictionaries available, and you have one as a default, and you type in a color name, you say color name, you'd like to have, if the name is in the dictionary, you'd like to get that. You don't want to make a whole bunch of methods to say, oh yeah, this is yellow, whatever, which are kind of shortcuts for a lookup in a color dictionary. You don't want to pay the cost of the lookup, you just want to get the color, and it's very common. But in general, if a color is in the dictionary, you've got this name color you're dealing with, you want to find it. And so that's what this does. So what it does is it takes the current color name dictionary and it says, okay, whatever the name is, let me look that up. And if I find it, then that's the thing I return. Otherwise, I throw up my hands and say, hey, I really don't understand this, which generally comes up to a debugger. Uh, Although you can make it, you can put in little recovery blocks and recover on things. So I'm going to put self halt here, so we can trip this. And now I'm going to say save, Command S, okay. And so if I get a context sensitive thing, I've got accept here. It says who am I? And so when I say accept, am I Kendiki? Yes, it knows about me. So what's happening here, you see I got KEND up here, is that we have these things are versioned, and I can go back and look at previous versions and revert and that sort of thing if I need to. So I can try various things out and back up and like that, but the system watches what I do and records what I do in something called a change set. So if I totally trash the image and it's no longer viable, I can go back and I can say, okay, well, let me start again from my last saved image, and I can play forward my changes until just before I did that bad thing that really trashed the system, and continue on. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so doesn't us understand, we put a little halt in here, and I want to go now, and I need to set up the XK, the color, one color dictionary. Let's see, where do I find that? First four color names, no. I don't have color dictionary here. All right. Oh, I think I know what I have to do. What I have to do, go back into the file list and get back to packages, features, named colors, and I better install that. Okay, it's kind of hard to find things you don't install, but that's why you got the checking in the auto load and like that. Okay, so now we have, let's see. Oh, I guess that's in color. Fine. So if I come back to graphics, color, probably on the class side. Named colors. And here we are. So what this color dictionary does is we say set color names dictionary to be this color dictionary, and it just adds a bunch of pieces for that, and we're going to do it. And so now our color name dictionary, when we take a look at it and do it, we got an explorer for that, and now we have all a zillion colors in here. So we can anyway, we got all kinds of stuff we can experiment with. So now if I take a look at a color name that is here, that is not in the standard color name dictionary, like sunflower, and let's do the same expression. So I'm going to say I want to do a rectangle like morph new color self. In this case, self is going to be sunflower. Open in hand. I think that should do it. Yes, that did it, which means that's in the color dictionary, so I didn't hit the break. Okay, how about sun yellow? Let's try that. Yeah, I got that too. Yeah. Okay. Strong pink. No, that's in there. Stormy blue. Interesting. I thought I should halt on that. Okay. Yeah, for some reason I'm not halting. That's very interesting. Alright, so I'm in color. If I come up here and I type D, press the D key, somewhere here is does not understand, and I definitely have a halt that's been accepted. Okay, well, let me try a couple of the colors. I'm surprised that I find that those names are there. It's hard to break the system when you, okay, that's very interesting. It's hard to break the system when you, oh, that's the problem. I'm passing it a color directly rather than invoking a color from the color class. And so since it's already a color, it doesn't have a problem. So okay, so now we're going to do color soft pink, and that's not in the not as a method. And so here we hit our halt because the color does not understand soft pink. So I was invoking, I was passing a color directly rather than saying color lookup. And so again, it's going to look it up, and if it's not absent, probably if it's not there, it's going to go ahead and go on there. So this is something that's different in Smalltalk. In Smalltalk, I guess I should say, this is the debugger. So these are the stack frames. Okay, so this is the newest frame, and it goes down. So we were executing a do it on this bit of text, and then this is the halt is the complaint. We don't understand here. And while I'm looking up and down the stack, I can look at inside the stack frame and see the values. I can see the class, the object, if you will, that's been given this message to say, what's and poke around its internals and so forth. Uh, and so all of this is live. The difference between this environment and a lot of others is that the analogy would be that you have a hangnail, and you go to your physician and you say, I have a hangnail. And the physician looks and says, ah, yes, you have a hangnail. He takes out a gun, shoots you, sends a note to your mother, have another child. Well, in Smalltalk, you say, wait a minute, I got some salient state I want to save here. let's talk about this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that little halt message, and I'm going to accept, and then I'm going to restart. I'm going to re-execute the same stack frame without unwinding the stack and proceed. Okay, so now I go forward, and guess what? Everything works. Everything comes up peaches. Okay, and now you notice the red here. The red meant that there was no method with that particular name in the color class, uh, and so that's the way things come forward. So at that point, I'm going to break at the end of this, and in order to make colors a little easier to use, in the next segment, we're going to look at how to build a color palette, something you can select from that shows off a bunch of color swatches. And that 16 by 16 swatch that I mentioned earlier, you see is very handy in displaying colors to clue us in, because looking at the numeric RGB values is not very useful to my brain anyway. And so on to the next segment.